I'm Lauren.
And I'm Lisa.
And we're flipping the script about growing older.
Our guests have been influencers since before that was even a thing. Welcome to the Anti-Aging Podcast.
Welcome to Age Like a Badass Mother.
Today's guest, Dr. Michael Greger, is a badass in the world of nutrition and lifestyle medicine. He is a graduate of Cornell and Tufts University School of Medicine and a founding member and fellow of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. He is a physician and sought-after speaker, has presented at the Conference on World Affairs and the World Bank, an acclaimed author. His books, How Not to Die Cookbook, and How Not to Diet, became instant New York Times bestsellers. More than 1 million copies of How Not to Die have been sold. Dr. Greger feels like an old friend. Both Lauren and I have referenced his videos regularly for years. His research, knowledge, and humor have us addicted to his nonprofit portal, nutritionfacts.org, which scours the scientific literature to cut through the hype to provide free, evidence-based, life-saving information for all. He is our go-to for anything regarding nutrition and health. If you geek out over health facts and the minutia of nutrition like we do, or simply want to show up at your holiday family gathering with hard data to defend your plant-based lifestyle, then Dr. Michael Greger is your man. His newest mind-blowing book is How Not to Age, and certain to show us all how to age like a badass mother. Welcome, Dr. Greger. We're honored to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, this book is just 13,000 citations. I'm going to be very old by the time I'm going to live to be over 100 by the time I absorb all the information in this book.
What, a little light poolside beach reading? What's the problem?
That's what I texted her the other night. I'm like, a little light reading before bed. So there's so many incredible takeaways from this book. And just in general, unless you're a jellyfish, we're all going to die. But the goal is to die young, as old as possible, as you say. And that's precisely what this podcast is about. And it's not surprising that the 11 pathways to aging can be regulated by diet. So as we know from your other books, diet, exercise, adequate sleep. I loved where you talked about how there's not enough time for you to sleep, which I thought was interesting because that's one of our questions. When do you sleep? And one of our favorites, of course, staying sexually active. So, yeah, maybe we can start with, I'm sure you've practiced the quick synopsis of Anti-Aging 8.
Sure. The 8 is a kind of an actionable checklist to complement my daily dozen, specifying, particular foods like nuts, greens, and berries that have the potential to offer some of the best opportunities to slow aging and improve longevity. Happy to go into any of them.
The Daily Dozen is something that we definitely live by. I don't think there were really any surprises with the Anti-Aging 8, but Lauren and I were talking about, confirmation bias and why is it that to this day, we both work in the field. I'm a health coach and Lauren does coaching also. And even with all this information and people like you sharing this incredible information and data and facts, there's still an obsession with not enough protein, fear of carbohydrates, soy is going to give me cancer. Would you mind addressing that for our listeners? Because our demographic, we definitely want to get that message across.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I wrote this book, is to really cut through the noise and nonsense. It reminded me actually of my last book on weight loss. Both dieting and anti-aging are multi-billion-dollar industries, and with so much money in the mix, right, seeking even basic practical advice in either arena, living longer or lighter, you're just faced with an inscrutable barrage of pills and potions. I mean, look, even as a physician with the luxury of wading neck deep through the medical literature, it's been a challenge to tease out facts from farce. And look, if it took me 3 years to sift through the science, then I'm afraid the casual observer would just have, no chance. But of course, the more difficult it was, the more valuable I knew it could be to people. And the good news is we have tremendous power over our health and destiny, longevity. The vast majority of premature death and disability is preventable with a healthy enough diet and lifestyle.
Okay, so let's talk about the diet and lifestyle for a minute. So maybe we don't have to wade deep into every, all 8 and the daily dozen. People can kind of look that up for themselves. You've talked about it a lot. But there are some things that are standouts. Beans, nuts.
Love it.
Can you talk about the things that
Leafy
are
greens.
the standouts? The leafy greens, the strawberries, mushrooms.
Yeah. In terms of anti-aging foods, according to the Global Burden of Disease Study, the largest systemic analysis of risk factors in human history, the largest life expectancy gains will be made by eating more legumes, which are beans, split peas, chickpeas, and lentils. So if there's one thing we should boost in our diet, it's beans or lentil soup or hummus. This is presumed to be because they're the most concentrated source of prebiotics like fiber and resistant starch, which feed the probiotic good bacteria in our gut like lactobacillus and acidophilus to make beneficial postbiotics like butyrate and acetate, which can reduce inflammation, boost immunity, and improve muscle strength in frail individuals. So legumes rule the roost on kind of a per serving basis, though on an ounce per ounce basis, nuts are actually associated with the lowest risk of premature death compared to any other food group. So I recommend a palmful of walnuts a day. Dark green leafies make it into my anti-aging 8 as the vegetable most associated with a longer lifespan. The nitrates in greens can improve age-related declines in muscle and artery function, slow our metabolic rate, and the sulforaphane in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli can improve immune function, boost the detox enzymes in our liver and airways. Berries are in their place as the fruit most associated with a longer lifespan. I talked about the benefits of alma, which is dried Indian gooseberry powder, and the bright, colorful anthocyanin pigments in berries, thought to account for their benefits for cognitive function, eyesight, inflammation, blood sugar, artery control, artery function, cholesterol. Though they do get cleared from our bloodstream within about 6 hours, so I recommend having, dosing every meal with berries, so it makes the perfect dessert, or with hibiscus tea, which has those same kind of anthocyanins, or savory sources, such as purple cabbage or purple sweet potatoes. And the rest of the anti-aging aid includes boosting levels of an enzyme cofactor called NAD, something called xenohormesis, microRNAs, caloric restriction, protein restriction, and methionine restriction, which is probably the most important thing we can do.
I thought that was really interesting, the methionine restriction, because again, the obsession with protein. And if we're eating the right amount of calories, then we're not going to over consume the methionine, is something that you referenced in the book. But that I thought it was interesting, though, that cancers that are more prone to hormones, even high amounts of plant-based protein can affect that.
Yeah, for IGF-1, so insulin-like growth factor 1. If you have high enough protein intake, doesn't matter whether it's plant or animal protein. Only at reasonable intakes do you actually get that plant-based benefit. Yeah, basically when it comes to protein and aging, less may be more. Reducing protein intake, meaning restricting protein intake down to recommended levels, is the only thing I could find that could actually help block all 11 of the aging pathways. Turns out there's no benefit for adding extra protein to the diets of older men and women in terms of muscle mass, muscle strength, or muscle performance. Instead, the excess protein most Americans get causes a drop in the pro-longevity hormone called FGF21, a drop in testosterone, a worsening of the age-accelerating enzyme mTOR. So we should strive to stick to the recommended 0.8 grams per healthy kilogram body weight, which comes out to be about 45 grams a day for the average height woman, 55 grams a day for the average height men, then reducing down to about 1 gram per kilogram after age 65.
Yeah, we just spoke to Dr. Clapper, and he reiterated that very same thing about if you're getting enough calories, you're getting enough protein, and there's no need to add protein as we get older. But I thought another interesting aging tip is the calorie restriction. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's something that really intimidates people. And in my mind, if it's even just the minimal restriction of not eating after a certain time or eating before a certain time can be beneficial. Can you address that for the average person who maybe doesn't want to do intermittent fasting?
Yeah, sure. Caloric restriction without malnutrition is one of the most powerful and non-pharmacological interventions for extending health span, lifespan across a number of species, in part by boosting AMPK, which is an anti-aging pathway in autophagy, while reducing mTOR and IGF-1, this pro-aging enzyme and hormone. So simply reducing food intake can double or triple the lifespan of yeast, fruit flies, worms, prolong the average and maximum lifespan of rats and mice by up to 50%. But it's interesting. The lives of most animals is actually not prolonged by caloric restriction, even the most strains of mice tested. In terms of humans, we do have the calorie study, the largest, longest running study, randomizing people to caloric restriction, found that even a 12% drop in caloric intake can result in a variety of physiological, psychological, aging benefits. And so that's like, 250 calories on a 2,000 calorie diet. So it's just like skipping a piece of pie or something every day can have all these benefits, though it's not clear whether the benefits are due to the loss of excess body fat and or the concurrent improvements in dietary quality that they saw in that study. But, we can calorie restrict simply by switching to healthier, less calorie dense foods rather than eating smaller portions. So you actually eat more foods and get less calories by switching to healthy whole plant foods, which tend to be
A
very
whole food
calorically
plant-based diet.
dilute. There we go. That's why whole food plant-based diets have been found to be the most powerful weight loss intervention ever documented in the peer-reviewed medical literature that didn't enforce exercise or portion restriction. Nothing has worked better 6 and 12 months, according to the Broad study in New Zealand. And then, I can
Well,
keep
simply
talking
put,
about
you
more.
say fiber is anti-inflammatory and saturated fat is pro-inflammatory.
Yes, indeed. So that's inflammation is one of the aging pathways I talk about. Aging can be thought of as an inflammatory disease. Single blood tests for inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein can predict physical and cognitive performance as well as remaining lifespan in elderly individuals. Thankfully, excess inflammation can be extinguished through changes in diet. So that's eating lower on the dietary inflammatory index. And so what does that mean? That means avoiding pro-inflammatory food components, saturated fat, endotoxins, new 5-GC, sodium, and so minimizing our intake of meat, dairy, tropical oils, and salt. One lousy breakfast can double our C-reactive proteins within 4 hours before it's even lunchtime, and then go out of our way to eat foods that are anti-inflammatory, such as legumes, beans, greens, sodium-free tomato juice or tomato paste, oats, flaxseed, turmeric, ginger, garlic, cinnamon, cocoa powder, dill, green and chamomile tea, and other fiber-rich, anthocyanin-rich, and salicylic acid-rich foods. And I talk about all that in the inflammation chapter.
Yeah, it's all in the book, and it's all just incredible information. I found autophagy to be especially fascinating. And one of the things that you always say is that the body has this incredible capacity to heal itself. Would you say autophagy is a big part of that? Can you explain that to people, what that means, our body's ability to sort of clean house?
Yeah, it's kind of our internal housekeeping process, considered a primary system for cleaning the body from the inside out, clearing away accumulated cellular debris that may contribute to the aging process. And so there's some food components that suppress autophagy, like acrylamide, which is a toxin formed during the frying process, concentrated in potato chips and French fries, whereas other food components like chlorogenic acid, the antioxidant in coffee, and spermidine can actually help our cells take out the trash. So to help boost this anti-aging pathway, I encourage readers to consider on a daily basis 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous aerobic activity. One needn't fast to boost autophagy, but rather go fast by exercising, though 20 minutes fails to move the needle, but 60 minutes of moderate intensity exercise such as brisk walking does. Minimizing your intake of French fries and potato chips, trying to get at least 20 milligrams of spermidine a day by incorporating foods into your diet such as tempeh, mushrooms, peas, and wheat germ, as well as drinking 3 cups a day of regular or decaf coffee.
Do you really walk 14 miles a day on your treadmill?
Not when I'm on interviews that don't. I'm actually on my treadmill now, but I've got complaints that make people seasick. So I would be walking right now.
We wanted to do this on our stationary bikes, but we thought we might have a little trouble focusing. We thought for sure you'd be on the treadmill.
I wish I am on the treadmill, but I got it stopped.
It's not going to bother us.
All right, but, that's it. We're doing it. We're doing it.
That's it. Oh, here we go. You got it.
It's ridiculous. I can't see it. Yeah,
That's what we hoped for.
This man, Dr. Greger, walks 14 miles a day at a very slow pace.
Right.
Just on, while he's interviewing, while he's working. You can't see it, but he's going to start right here.
All right, let's do this.
I have a question about nuts, going back to nuts, because I did the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease and program for 6 years and actually reversed my heart
Oh,
disease. And I didn't
fantastic.
eat any
Congrats.
nuts. Thank
Okay.
you. I didn't eat any nuts for 6 years, but now that I have proof that I have reverse disease, I feel like I want to have nuts, and I use them in the form of, because I feel like I want to have it because it will help me stick to this lifestyle. I want some damn fat in my life. And the way I use the nuts is I make a nut or a seed sauce to put over my green leafy
Perfect.
vegetables and all that.
Perfect.
Is that okay, or is
Do it.
there a problem with breaking
Do
up?
it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yay.
Whole food
Yay,
sources
yay,
of
yay.
fat, nut seeds, nut butter seed, butters, and avocados. Do
Okay,
it. Do it. Do it.
I just wanted to make sure breaking it up in the Vitamix, like breaking the cell walls, wasn't a problem with that.
Well, I mean, it's better to eat whole, but better to eat blended than none.
Okay, because I feel like it's my spoonful of sugar that helps the medicine go down
Oh, well,
on
I
my
mean, it's
on my
healthy too.
vegetables.
I encourage people to eat a palmful of walnuts every day in How Not to Age.
Okay.
Well, and also, Lauren, like we've talked about, you reversed your heart disease, but you learned that you've got the DNA for Alzheimer's in your family. And so that was another question about eating the benefits of nuts.
But I also have completely cleared carotid arteries. I've had a lot of testing, and I feel like the diet I'm doing for my heart is the diet you do for Alzheimer's, right? It's
Indeed, what's
same
good
thing.
for our heart is good for our head. Indeed.
Exactly. Okay, I want to talk about, you touched on this a little bit, but I feel like I have a lot of friends who don't believe me, even though they've seen me reverse my heart disease, lose 20 pounds, gain all my health. They still don't believe about eating carbs, like the whole grains and so forth. And you say a low carb diet is a low lifespan diet. Can you just tell us why? Like, why?
Tell our
Why?
friends who won't listen.
Tell our friends who won't listen to us to eat some rice, brown rice.
Or a baked potato.
No, I mean, most carbs people eat are, processed junk, right? So they're eating Twinkies or something. I mean, if Twinkies are your idea of carbohydrates, then of course you want a low carbohydrate diet. But what they're missing is the fact that there are healthy sources. In fact, some of the healthiest foods, such as legumes, whole grains, fruits, they are, packed with carbohydrates, but they're healthy for you. In fact, every single blue zone centers their diets around whole plant foods.
And so, can we ask you a couple of questions, like a little bit personal, not personal,
Let's do it.
but just how?
No, whip it out. I'm an open book.
Ooh, we're getting the sassy version today. How much sleep do you get?
I've been I'm on the road now, 100 cities, 6 months. So it's really difficult. Time zones change every day. I try to get as much as I can on the road, but it's tough because, most of the talks are in the evenings. And so it's like an hour talk, half-hour questions, and 3 hours of book signing. And so I get to bed super late. And then if I'm flying from Denmark to the West Coast, I'm like 9 hours off, it's just nasty. But when I'm home, I really do try to take care of myself and get at least 7 hours a night.
What? Okay, at least 7 hours a night. So you're definitely not getting that. All right. So who's your best friend? What's your best friend's name? Is it like a long-term childhood person?
Oh my God. Probably Jen Hawk, Dr. Jen Hawk.
I've heard you speak about her before. She works with you, right?
We've done like podcasts together.
Okay. Is she somebody you've known since childhood, or?
No, she just since the pandemic. Oh, by the way, don't listen to anything she has to say about the pandemic. She's a nut when it comes to crazy COVID conspiracy theories. So just because I have tremendous respect for her doesn't mean she's completely 100% wrong when it comes to her beliefs about the pandemic.
So
I love that.
We can be friends and disagree.
Exactly.
Right. We can be friends and disagree. Right.
Do you just have like a work relationship, or do you guys do anything fun together?
Oh, well, we used to have a romantic relationship.
Oh,
But now we are just canine co-parents.
gotcha. Okay, so she's like a partner for you.
She was.
As well.
Yes.
She was, but now she's still your best. I love that she's still your best friend.
Oh, I'm friends with all my exes.
Aw,
I
that's,
love,
you know
speaking
what?
of
That's
canine
lovely.
co-parenting, I love the pictures of your canine companions on Instagram, and
Oh,
found and just laughed out loud when I was reading about the benefits of having a dog and how their heart rate goes down.
oh my God! Wasn't that the sweetest thing ever?
Yes.
Yes. What what are your dogs' names?
Oh God! Unfortunately, we just lost two of our babies. We lost
Oh
Melly and
no.
Mo in 1 month. I mean, they were both very old, but
Mm, I'm so sorry.
so we're only down to 3 dogs, 2 rabbits, 2 guinea pigs, and so we have Lucy, Peaches, and Princess are our 3 remaining dogs.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's so hard.
Yeah, that was great.
And
Um,
you're 51 years old now?
I am indeed.
And can you share with us, like, through this research and the book, there were some surprising things for us. What are some of the surprising things for you? Like, was the ficedine and strawberries, or the things you learned about mushrooms, has that like influenced your dietary choices or lifestyle choices at all?
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean, I learned as much, writing the book as people get reading the book. I mean, I wasn't taught most of this stuff in medical school. In fact, entire fields of science, like the microRNAs, weren't even discovered before I graduated from medical school, right? Challenging the central dogma of biology. So, I mean, some of the biggest surprise for me, the exercise thing totally didn't turn out the way I thought. The sleep chapter, red wine, resveratrol, NAD supplements, vitamin D, fish, protein restriction, microRNAs. I mean, the list goes on and on. In terms of what I've changed in my own diet, now I've included papali, long pepper, this spice you can get at Middle Eastern spice stores, which has piperlongumine, a purported senolytic compound. I'm eating more strawberries than I ever have. Fresh, frozen, or freeze dried. Wheat germ every day. I mean, wheat germ, cardamom, a sirtuin activating compound. I mix that with my cocoa powder. I'm making sure I eat cocoa powder every day.
Do you
Also,
eat mushrooms every day?
also eating more mushrooms every day. In fact, I started growing oyster mushrooms. You can, just like you can sprout like broccoli sprouts, you can
Yeah,
grow
you
oyster
get the
mushrooms.
block.
It's so cool. And I also started eating a lot more tempeh.
oh yeah. I
For
love it.
the ergothionine
For
in the mushroom.
ergothioneine and the spermidine, both
Spermidine. Yes,
pro
spermidine.
longevity vitamins.
Oh wow. That's good. Can you talk about a little bit about the soy myth too? Because I feel like that's another thing that my friends get caught up on. Like, I can't eat soy. Why is
Uh,
soy good for you? Organic soy.
Yeah, that for some reason that's just soy is so misunderstood. People don't understand. I mean, so there's this thought, well, oh my God, they have phytoestrogens, so they might have estrogenic effects. People don't understand there's actually 2 types of estrogen receptors in the body, alpha and beta. The phytoestrogens in soy bind to the beta receptors. Our own estrogen receptors bind preferentially to the alpha receptors. So the effect of soy on different tissues depends on the ratio of alpha to beta. So, estrogen has positive effects on some tissues, but negative effects on others. So, for example, estrogen is good for the bones, bad for the breast. So ideally, we'd have some kind of selective estrogen receptor modulator to have estrogenic effects in some tissues, but anti-estrogenic effects in others, and that's exactly what soy phytoestrogens are. Soy appears to lower breast cancer risk. That's an anti-estrogenic effect. At the same time, reducing menopausal hot flashes. That's a pro-estrogenic effect. So with soy, you get the best of both worlds. So we should eat legumes, soy or other beans, chickpeas, or lentils every day.
That's such good news for me. I love soy. I love it. That's my favorite thing. And my
Well, and,
dog too.
anecdotally, some of the longest living people, soy is just a part of their staple diet,
Oh,
isn't
soy
it?
was the primary protein source of the Okinawan Japanese, but the second longest living population in the world, second only to the California Adventist vegetarians in Loma Linda, California.
You know, one of the things that we really fight against with this podcast is that you address is like the pills and potions that are sold to us, these anti-aging pills and potions. And one of the surprising things I read in your book too is protecting our skin and emollient skin application.
Oh, wasn't that cool?
It's
Yeah.
really cool. Can you just touch on that for a sec?
That was just that. Oh, that's another thing that I've totally changed in my life. Now I'm applying emollient skin lotion every day.
Greasing up.
I am greasing up. Yeah, no,
Greasing up.
exactly. So in addition to avoiding the pro-inflammatory food components, avoiding and going out of the way to eat anti-inflammatory food components, we can also apply an emollient skin lotion, which originally was shown to decrease inflammation in hairless mice. And then they finally did a randomized controlled trial of elderly men and women and found you can significantly reduce systematic markers of inflammation by applying a daily emollient skin lotion. The thought is that our skin barrier breaks down as we get older, and so it allows in all sorts of external nasties that kind of inflame our immune system. And so by fortifying the outer layer of our skin by applying emollients, that's why we can get a decrease in inflammation, which plays a critical role in the aging process.
What skincare product do you like?
Oh, so I use the one that's used in the study just because that's the one that's been shown to actually help. But any should. So theoretically, any
Can you
should
say
work.
which one it is?
Oh, I forget the brand name. But it's in the study.
Would you say to look for, just like you would in your packaged food, the one with the least amount of ingredients and recognizable ingredients? What would be your tip for people listening who want to keep their skin?
I would tell people to get the cheapest one because then they can spend more money on kale.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Oh man, so you have no spoil.
I encourage people to get fragrance-free products. I have a video about some of the fragrances that are added to various household products and cosmetic products can actually be harmful.
Okay. How did you find your way to being vegan or whole food plant-based?
Oh, it's my grandma. It all goes back to my grandma. I was just a kid when my grandma was sent home in a wheelchair basically to die. She had diagnosed with end-stage heart disease, confined in a wheelchair, crushing chest pain. Her life was over at age 65. But then she heard about this guy, Nathan Pritikin, one of our early lifestyle medicine pioneers. And what happened next is actually detailed in Pritikin's biography. He talks about Frances Greger, my grandmother. They wheeled her in and she walked out. Though she was given a medical death sentence at age 65, thanks to a healthy diet, was able to enjoy another 31 years on this planet until age 96 to continue to enjoy her 6 grandkids, including me. So that's why I went into medicine. That's why I practice lifestyle medicine, why I started nutritionfacts.org, why I wrote the book How Not to Die, why all the proceeds from all of the sales of my books are all donated directly to charity. I just want to do for everyone's family what Pritikin did for my family.
Gosh, are we lucky? And I just want to reiterate what you just said. She did that at 65 and lived an additional 31 years.
Yeah, amazing, right? Because we didn't think heart disease was reversible, but now we know better, and we have proof, thanks to Dr. Dean Ornish's lifestyle heart trial, published in one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world in 1990, decades ago. Yet hundreds of thousands of Americans continue to die of this preventable, arrestable, reversible condition. It's outrageous, but there are amazing people like you out there spreading the good news that we have this power over our health and longevity.
Thank you so much. How Not to Age. We will be reading that until we're 100.
Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.